We've all been there, right? Grabbing a multivitamin, maybe an extra dose of vitamin C during cold season, that feeling like we're boosting our health. But what if I told you this, like more is better approach might not always be true, even when it comes to essential vitamins.
Yeah, it's a fascinating concept for sure. I know we often associate vitamins with just being, good for you, but like so many things in life, I guess it's all about balance, isn't it?
It really is. And today, we're diving deep into that very concept with niacin. It's a B vitamin, totally crucial for our bodies, but as you'll hear, might have a surprising downside.
Yeah.
We're looking at a new article from the Hardy Soul. Common supplement may increase risk of heart disease, study finds. Published just recently, October 16, 2024. And they break down some pretty intriguing new research from Nature Medicine.
Yeah, and you know what's fascinating about this study? They weren't even looking at people taking niacin supplements specifically, which is interesting. It was the effects of just excess niacin, regardless, of the source, which I think is really interesting. And they found a potential link between this specific byproduct of niacin breakdown, this molecule called 4-PY, and an increased risk of heart attack and stroke.
Okay, whoa, hold on a second. Let's back up a bit for our listeners. I think it would help if we, first just get a good understanding of, like, what is niacin and why is it so important for us?
Absolutely. So niacin is one of the B vitamins, and it plays a vital role in a ton of bodily functions, keeping our nervous system working properly, helping our bodies convert food into energy, all that good stuff. Yeah. Without it, we'd be in big trouble.
Yeah, no, totally. But then there's this almost like paradoxical history with niacin, right? I mean, before we had the cholesterol-lowering medications we have today, like doctors actually used to prescribe niacin to help manage cholesterol levels.
That's right. That's right. Which makes this recent research even more intriguing, right?
Totally.
And this is where the study, I think, really dug deep. They didn't just look at a handful of people. They analyzed blood samples from over 3,000 participants.
Oh.
And they weren't just looking for niacin itself, right? They were specifically looking for these markers of excess niacin.
Markers. Okay. Now you're speaking my language. What exactly are those?
That's a great question. Think of them like clues left behind in your blood that tell us, how much niacin your body has been processing.
Okay.
So these markers can actually help researchers understand, like, how much niacin your body is breaking down, even if you're not, like, popping niacin pills.
Okay, that's starting to make more sense. So
Yeah.
they found these markers, and then they saw, like, a connection to this 4-PY byproduct, right?
Yeah.
But how did they know that 4-PY was, like, the culprit and not some other thing going on in the body?
Well, they didn't stop at just analyzing the blood work. They combined that with looking at existing data from patients who had experienced heart problems. So it's kind of like connecting the dots,
Right.
between excess niacin, this 4-PY, and like actual heart health outcomes. But then to really solidify things, they took it a step further.
They brought in the mice, right?
Yeah.
Classic research move.
Exactly. Classic research. They injected mice with this 4-PY byproduct, and what they found was really striking. The mice who got the 4-PY started showing increased inflammation in their blood vessels.
Okay, I'm with you so far. But for those of us who haven't spent much time with, like, mice circulatory systems, why is inflammation in blood vessels like such a red flag when it comes to heart problems?
Well, it's all about how that inflammation affects those blood vessels over time,
Okay.
Think of it like this. Inflammation is your body's way of, like, fighting off injury or infection, right? It's a natural, healthy response. But when that inflammation becomes chronic, it's kind of like having, like, the emergency brakes slightly on in your car all the time.
Okay.
Eventually things start to wear down.
In the case of our blood vessels, that like wearing down can actually lead to some serious issues, right?
Exactly. Chronic inflammation in the blood vessels can actually damage the vessel walls themselves, making them sticky and prone to plaque buildup.
Yeah.
You've heard of plaque, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
That combination of cholesterol, fat, and other substances that can accumulate over time.
Oh, is that like when the plumber shows you those scary pictures of, like, the clogged pipes? That's basically what's happening inside our arteries.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, actually. As plaque builds up, it narrows those arteries, right? Restricting blood flow. And if that blood flow gets blocked entirely, well, then you're talking about a heart attack or a stroke.
Okay, wow. Yeah, that's serious stuff.
Yeah.
So we've got this potential like chain reaction. Excess niacin, leads to more of this 4-PY, which seems to trigger the inflammation, which then sets the stage for the plaque buildup and then like, all the way down the line to heart trouble. It's like a domino effect.
It really is. It's fascinating how these, seemingly separate processes, are all interconnected.
Totally. But here's what really made me like think about this whole thing. The article mentioned that back in the 1940s, adding niacin to food, like, we're talking bread, cereal, all that, like the works, became really common to combat this disease called pellagra. So for decades now, we've been basically boosting the niacin content of like a lot of the staple foods.
That's right. And for good reason at the time, pellagra was a serious health problem caused by, severe niacin deficiency. It could even be fatal.
Wow.
So fortifying foods with niacin was a huge public health win, no doubt about it.
Yeah. But now we have this research suggesting that too much niacin might be, problematic.
Right.
Does this mean we need to like rethink those fortification practices? Like, are we all going to be scouring the cereal aisle now for like the low niacin options?
That's the million-dollar question. And honestly, it's a bit too early to say for sure. This is just one study, albeit a very well-designed one, I'll grant you that.
Right.
But we need more research to really understand, what the optimal levels of niacin intake are for, different individuals and different populations, right? It's not a one-size-fits-all situation, right?
Right, okay. So what does all of this mean for, like someone listening right now? Should we all be like ditching our morning toast and our multivitamins?
I think the most important takeaway here is, not to panic, right? This study isn't saying that niacin is like inherently bad or that everyone needs to, like eliminate it from their diet.
Right.
Quite the opposite.
It's about like moderation and just, being informed, right?
Exactly. Most people can easily get enough niacin through just a balanced diet.
Okay.
That includes things like meat, fish, poultry, nuts, and even those fortified grains in moderation.
Okay.
In those cases, additional supplementation might not be necessary and could, potentially even lead to those unwanted side effects we're talking about.
Okay. So what about people who do take niacin supplements specifically? Like maybe they're trying to, manage their cholesterol or address some other health concern they're working with.
Yeah, so that's where it becomes really crucial to, to loop in your doctor to have that conversation. If you are taking, high dose niacin supplements, especially if you have any history of heart problems or you're taking other medications, it's absolutely essential to talk to your healthcare provider. They can help you weigh the potential benefits and risks, in the context of your individual health situation.
So it sounds like for our listeners, the big takeaway here is like, don't freak out about niacin, but maybe, have a conversation with your doctor if you're taking those high doses or if you just have concerns.
Yeah, precisely. And maybe, this research will encourage people to just be a little more, mindful.
Yeah.
About what they're, putting in their bodies in general, even when it comes to, things that we typically think of as healthy.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
It is easy to get caught up in the latest supplement craze or, whatever new health trend is out there. But this study really highlights how important it is to just take a step back for a second and look at the whole picture.
Absolutely. And you know what I find really exciting about this research is it's not just about identifying a problem, it's also about, potentially opening doors to new possibilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
For treatment and such.
Yeah. The article touched on that a little bit. Are we talking about like, new ways to manage inflammation or even like target this 4-PY byproduct more directly?
Well, imagine if we could develop medications that specifically target the inflammation in the blood vessels, right? Kind of like a, precision strike against one of the root causes of heart disease.
Wow.
Or, maybe we could find ways to interrupt that pathway that leads to, the formation of 4-PY in the first place.
Oh, wow. That'd be incredible.
Yeah.
It really just underscores how much we still don't know about, all the complexities of nutrition and how even a single vitamin can have these far-reaching effects on our health.
Exactly. The study might just be like the tip of the iceberg in terms of, really understanding that intricate relationship between our nutrients, inflammation and chronic disease.
Wow. Okay. So to wrap things up for our listeners today, we learned that niacin, while essential, yeah, might have a potential downside if we overdo it. We delved into some, groundbreaking research that connects this niacin byproduct, this 4-PY, to inflammation and potentially, to our heart health. And we've even, touched on the exciting possibility of new treatments down the road. So,
It just goes to show, right? There's always more to discover,
yeah,
even about things, we think we understand.
absolutely. So for everyone listening, stay curious. Read articles like this one from the Hardy Soul, and perhaps most importantly, have that conversation with your healthcare provider to really like figure out what's best for you.
Knowledge is power, after all, right?
Couldn't have said it better myself. Until next time, keep exploring, everyone.